Okay. Mr. Darren Lombardo.
Good evening, board. Get my timer started here. I wanted to come to you this evening to talk to you a little bit about CRT, SEL, DEI. CRT is critical race theory, SEL, social emotional learning, and DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. All of those three things are in our schools right now, and it is tragic. Why is it tragic? CRT, which if you were to ask someone, oh, is that in the school? No, it's not in the school. It certainly is. It's in subtle forms all throughout the curriculum. It's jam-packed in our libraries. And it divides people based on oppressor versus the oppressed, victim, teaching victimhood. We're to instill values into these students. We're not to divide people. We're not to tell people you'll never get ahead because of the color of your skin. We are not to tell people that someone caused you to be in a position where you can never achieve. That is baloney in the name of human dignity. We are to teach people to have dignity and respect for each other. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some of these materials in the curriculum to say they're diverse. America is diverse on its own. America is an amazing country. And so and everybody that makes up America is just fabulous. Everyone has different gifts. Some people can jump higher, some people can run faster. I could do none of those things. And that's what makes a person great, because some people can do things. Some people could be the greatest poet on the planet. The list goes on with skill, and so, and gifts. And so to say that in the name of equity that everyone must have the same outcome, it's impossible to achieve. We need to, and the reason why it's impossible to achieve is that just what I said about the gifts. Each person has their own unique gifts. And so if we say that everyone is to have the same outcome, would be putting people in a box and saying, you can't be great. I think of the segment from The Incredibles where the villains makes inventions to make everyone super so that no one is super. And so everyone gets a medal. If everyone gets a medal at the end of a sports competition, that's done in the name of equity. That's inequity. That's what that results in. And so in order to have greatness, we need to set goals and we need to work hard. And if we don't have those goals to run for the goal, no one's going to run towards it. They're going to sit back and say, I don't have to, because they'll make me win by default. And that's tragic. It's absolutely tragic. And so what we need to do is we need to focus our schools on equality. We don't hear that word used anymore. And that's tragic. Equality. All men are created equal by God. And whether or not, some of you perhaps go to church, some of you may not, that's irrelevant. There's an absolute in all things. And so when you look at that, I can tell you, whether you believe in God or not, I can tell you He exists. And how do we know He exists? You could have been born on a deserted island. And He put in you, when He made you, to know right and wrong, not to murder someone, not to hurt someone, not to steal their food. You know that because He built you with that. And so I always say, never violate your conscience. And so when you do that, and the things that are in the school, such as sexually explicit material, you'd say, how can you allow that? How can you violate your conscience? Perhaps your conscience is seared and it doesn't matter to you, or you say, oh, well, that's just the way the world is. But In the name of equity and inclusion, we have to have that stuff. So I asked some faculty members why sexually explicit materials are in the school. They said to engage the youth. By having the sexual material, it engages them. They'll want to read it if they're enticed by their desires, and we use sexuality as a mechanism to do that. And so that's enticement. And so as adults, you present the minors, all under 18, with materials to entice them through sexuality. And so you look at that and you say, see a person, an adult that goes up to a kid and says, "Hey little kid, you want some candy?" I can tell you, board, that's what pedophiles do. You entice the children through sexuality to lure them into your own evil sexual desires. Is that what we want to do here? Really? And so, I've been through the library. There's pathetic books, and you have to ask yourself, why is it necessary? Why can't we have a book on a subject matter dealing with curricula rather than divisive books based on race and victimhood? We're to teach each other to love each other. How are we supposed to move forward if we're digging up things in the past that we've gotten behind? Perhaps some people will say, what do you know about the past? What do you know? I do know that in the sight of God, that all men are created equal. And I refuse to look at anybody differently. When I grew up, I was a kid, I had friends from all over the continent. I never went home to my mom and say, "Mommy, why is Biba a different color?" I didn't do that. It was an irrelevant topic to me. All I knew is he was my best friend. And so now in today's, what the school system's doing is saying, hey, unless you point out that that person's a different color and make an issue of it, you're a denier, that you're racist. That is hogwash. And so by teaching this to our kids, you just go into Walmart and you're standing in line with mothers, okay? The kids, two-year-olds, they see each other and their face lights up and they run to each other and they want to play and they give each other hugs. They're not thinking about that. Who taught them that? They're learning it here. They're learning it here. We need to love each other and stop dividing people. And so I know each and every one of you here, I truly, wholeheartedly believe that there's good in the heart of each one of you. I absolutely believe that. And sometimes when we get so caught up in a system and what's right, politically correct, the poor legal counsel from your attorney, working for the teachers' unions, all of that, you gotta dismiss that and say, what is in here? How do I look towards other people? How would I want to be treated? With dignity and respect. And we've lost that. So I'm here tonight to remind and perhaps hopefully realign your hearts, your minds, to cast that trash aside and unify our students and our families, engaging families, getting parents to be involved in education, not make obstacles for them. Like tonight's meeting, for example, you put the wrong date on the schedule, hoping that people would show up tomorrow standing at the door and where's the meeting? Oh, it was last night. It's not what the calendar said. These obstructive tactics that they're using in multiple counties, by the way, we're tired of it. All right? We're tired of it. And I can tell you, there's so many people rising up that stand with mothers, stand with fathers, and we want education. We want English, math, science, and history. We want school. We don't want political activism in the classroom, politics. It's so bad that, why do you think our students are over 2 years behind? Because they've replaced core subjects with political activism. Okay? Meanwhile, society and our children are suffering and struggling academically with inflated grades and the illusion that they're performing to keep the funding rolling into the schools, and they're suffering. Kids that get A's in algebra, we're having them assessed. They're getting like 34% on their assessments. And so to wrap this up, we don't need to make an illusion anymore. We need to step up to the plate, and regardless of what political party you're in, I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, it is irrelevant. In the name of humanity, we need to do what's right for our students, and we love our kids. Don't mess with the kids. Don't mess with their minds. And if we do that, and we respect each other, and cast the politics aside, cast the influence of the teachers' unions aside, we can have a great school system. God bless you, and thank you for the opportunity.